Welcome to Making It Happen, a career in the performing arts, where we discuss how to break into the performing arts industry for yourself or your child, teen, or young adult. Guests include artists, creatives, casting directors, musical directors, choreographers, agents, and managers, as well as parents of young professional actors, singers, and dancers, all who are passionate and share my vision of helping talented individuals land professional representation and have successful careers in the arts. My name is Lisa Solak, and I am the CEO and founder of Making It Happen, a career in the performing arts, having helped hundreds of clients break into the business on stage, in films, television, commercial work, and more. This podcast is supplemental to my groundbreaking online courses, Professional Kids and Teens 101, a primer for parents, and Professional Biz 201 for young adults, college students, and graduates. For more information, check out all the ways that you can benefit from my online courses, my programs, my free weekly newsletter, and free guides. Go to lbctalent.thinkific.com. My guests today are Lena and David Kaptein. Hi guys, how are you?
We're doing great.
How you doing, Lisa?
I am so good, and I am thrilled that you guys are here. You've been in the industry, both of you, as artist and talent, and also on the other side of things, and you have created some amazing materials for people to use as assets to help promote their own careers for many years as well. So that we have so much to talk about, but what I really want to do is start at the beginning, because I'm so intrigued by why people get involved in the industry and when they realized that the industry was for them, whether it was when they were really young, like were you 5 and 6 years old, posing with clothing on, or was it something that came up later in life? So if you guys could kind of both individually kind of give us an idea of how it all started for you.
You want to start?
Sure, I can start. I actually was in a school play when I was in 4th grade, and I forgot my lines, and I was frozen from that point on. I said, I'm never going to be an actor. I don't want to do it, because I was so embarrassed. And it stuck with me for so long. And I never did anything about being in front of camera. I had no desire to do it. I went to college. I was an engineer. And my roommate was a really artistic guy. He had a band. He was into fashion and all this stuff. And he was getting in my ear. Hey, look at these guys in GQ. It's back in the 80s. So I'm not that young.
Sure.
So I was listening. He's, wow, these guys are traveling the world, and isn't that fantastic? We could do this. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing my math problems. So it turns out we graduate, and he goes off to Europe and starts modeling. And I had a job in New York as an engineer, didn't really like it, and I got the bug. He was in my ear, and it sounded so romantic to get back into the arts. And I said, all right, well, I'll give it a shot. And I walked into Wilhelmina on a whim, and I didn't think anything would happen, but they gave me some names of photographers. I took a really good photo shoot, the first one out of the box, which is part of the serendipity of it. Is I shot with a really good photographer, and I got really good pictures. And the other serendipity was he brought the contact sheets into the agency, and he was waiting for the agent to look at them. And in walks an agent from Milan, the biggest agent in Milan, Luigi. And he looks down at the contact sheet and he says, I want this guy right here. So talk about luck. So they called me in, signed me to a 3-year contract and all this. It was kind of a whirlwind thing. I quit my job because I hated my job. And then I floundered in New York for 5 months trying to build my book, and I wasn't getting anywhere, because in New York, it's hard to get anywhere without tear sheets, shots that you pull out of magazines. They're called tear sheets. So after 5 months, I went over to Europe eventually, and I stayed there for 5 years. I met Lena right in the beginning. In Paris, and then it just kind of snowballed into what it is today. We came back to the States and had a couple kids, and I was working in New York and started doing commercials. I must have done 200 commercials, and then I started taking pictures of people, because I didn't like the pictures I was getting from other photographers to update my book. And
Who took those pictures?
yeah, Lena took those pictures.
Oh, there you go.
I was actually the photographer from the start. I wanted to
Really?
do that.
Yeah. So
I had to talk him into that. which is fun.
Really?
Our stories are pretty different because I never thought to model. I grew up in Sweden and everyone's beautiful there. And I was into sports. I mean, as a little kid, I would always go on stage. I was always like, ooh, I wasn't shy, but it was nothing that, I thought I would do. So I was scouted and came to New York and got, set up with Ford models to do all these test shoots. And a lot of people don't relate to my story because they're like, oh my God, that was such a princess story. But I actually had a lot of bad shoots because, they set me up with photographers. I just wanted to shoot a pretty girl, so I didn't pay. And so I had a meeting after 3 weeks and they said, oh, well, I think maybe you should start with a smaller agency. So they actually kind of kicked me out.
Okay.
I wasn't leaving the States yet. I ran into another photographer in a lab and he saw my pictures and he goes, oh, those are horrible headshots. That's not even looking like you. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't know anything.
Right.
And then he said, you need to come. So I told him the story, what happened, and that I was scouted, set up with Ford models, and they sort of lost interest because the photos were so terrible. And he goes, no, they're stupid. He was a photographer, actually. He happened to be a really good photographer. So I got lucky. Sometimes I guess life is just being at the right place at the right time and sort of just, dare to take that chance and not think too much. I mean, you better be smart, but so I went with this guy photographer up to another click agency and she asked me to stay for the weekend to take pictures with him. And I did. And these photos actually opened up my whole modeling career. So I went from, I was actually kicked out of one of the biggest agencies. And now I did a really good headshot session with this guy. And the funniest thing is now I'm a makeup artist and I did my own makeup at that shoot, actually.
Oh,
I should have known back then. Okay,
right.
Just forget about the modeling. Do the makeup. Because I did it very natural. I didn't really know what to do, but I just knew that in Sweden, we don't wear a whole lot, but I just did very, very, so it looked like me. And that's a very important thing in a headshot, that it actually looks like you. Okay. I think the other headshots I had, it was way too much makeup, too much hair, too much everything. I just drowned in their creativity. Right. And so anyway, that's how my modeling career started, with a really strong headshot. I was shocked. I was like, wait, I don't get it. Like now all these agencies in Europe want me. In London, they had an agency there, they were faxing over my photos and I learned, that was my first lesson. Good photos. Okay. I'm the same girl. Those other shots of me were not good. Didn't give a good representation of me. And then this guy now took some really good photos and every door opened up.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, that was lesson number 1 for me. And came to Paris and that's where we met. And
nice.
Yeah. So everybody's start could be very different.
Yeah. When you say, can we go back for a second? When you say scouted, I don't know that everybody would know what that word means and what that actually entails and how that happens. Can you explain what that is?
So I was in Sweden at a beach club disco. This is in the 80s. And there was people from New York that saw me on the dance floor and they came up and they were associated with Ford models and the fashion industry. And they said, we think you look like Isabella Rossellini. And I was like, okay, really? I mean, I was like, what? How many drinks did you have? Yeah. And then they said, we just like to invite you over to our table and, we can discuss further. So, I chatted, we exchanged numbers and, there was a very famous Swedish singer that was part of this company. It was almost like a Bruce Springsteen in New York, right? I mean, in New Jersey. So, so that gave me sort of credibility because he was associated with these people from New York. So anyway, so they sort of sponsored me, I guess. They sent over airline tickets, set up for me a place to stay. And then I got a meeting with Eileen Ford. And so that's, how I got to come and try this.
Yeah, I think, that's so interesting because there's a certain level of trust, right? That you would have to have in that moment. How old were you?
Okay, so I was not a minor.
Would you do that now?
No.
No.
I mean, I think my parents were pretty crazy. I was 21. I was actually turning 22 that month. And my dad was on the phone, you know, with this singer who's really famous in Sweden, and his wife, and they wouldn't put their reputation on the line for little me. You know, I was a nobody. And they said, no, you can trust these people. They're legit, you know, have no worries. And so my parents actually, you know, let me fly all by myself, first business class. They fed me and, you know, served me things every minute. I was so nervous. I didn't eat or drink anything. I was just like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? But I have to say, in life, you have to be willing to take risks. Okay. I wouldn't sit here talking to you today if I didn't take that risk. Was I uncomfortable? Yes. Was I nervous? Yes. But you know what? That's how you actually stretch yourself to try something new. And that's how, you know, you hopefully, and you know what? I said to myself in the end, if nothing comes of it, at least I tried. Okay. I got the opportunity. And it was a little bit like that, how I got into my makeup career too, actually, later on.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because when children and teens are given an opportunity, the parents have to, and now of course we have the addition of the internet, right?
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit easier because parents can actually Google everything and kind of see if this person is legit and all of that. We didn't have that back then, right? But right now, look, who's that?
Studio mascot.
She's been in 3 commercials too.
Yeah, she's been in some commercials.
Hey, lady, how are you?
That's Sophie.
Sophie.
She greets all the kids when they come for headshots. She comes and brings them a toy.
I love it, Sophie. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So anyway, you know, I think parents have to give their kids a chance. You know, like it's not just about you know, the kids want to do this or they want to do musical theater or they want to, you know, all of those things. You have to kind of, there's a certain level of recognition as a parent that you have to say, wait a minute, there's a child that has something special. And you guys work with so many kids and teens and young people. So I'm sure you see it too when they come through your doors, which we can get into. But yeah, I think you have to have this, I don't know if it's a gut feeling that I need to do this and I need to try and I need to give myself a shot and I give myself a chance. Like just David, you going to Europe, she did the reverse, right? So when did you guys end up, like, were you both doing high-end modeling or were you doing campaigns for certain brands? Can you go into any of that detail so that people have an idea of what that world is like? Because my clients that have interest in anything to do with modeling or print, of course, commercial print, they get very nervous because there's not a lot of information out there and they're very concerned about sending their child to go to, just like you did, Lena, go to this photographer that you didn't know and have him take all these pictures of you. So to make people feel comfortable, I'm thinking if you share a little bit more detail about that process, that would be amazing.
Do you want to start?
You can start.
Well, there's so many different, in the print world, there's so many different genres of print modeling. There's fashion modeling, there's runway modeling where you need to be 5'11" and, you know, like a toothpick. Fashion modeling is more, you know, for the designers. Editorial work is work that you do for the magazine. That's partially pretty much fashion work. And then there's catalog work, and then there's commercial print work. So in a perfect world, I would say you would want to start out, if you got lucky, is to start out in the fashion end of it and do campaigns for Armani or Versace and stuff like that, and editorial, build up your book, and then you go cash in with jobs for perfumes and high-end designer work that pays, you know, not clothes but product work. So that those two, like Cindy Crawford, would go from doing covers to doing Hennessy, you know, liquor ad or something like that, and they pay the most. And that would be like in the perfect world where you would start in the fashion end, and then as careers not wane, but they usually change as you get older, or whatever. You're not the flavor of the day, maybe. Then you'll move more into commercial and catalog work. So you can have a very long career just doing print work and maybe commercials. but that's like, is it, does it happen to everyone? No. That's the perfect scenarios. You wouldn't want to start taking jobs as a catalog model, because you'll never move the other direction. Usually you'll never go back to the fashion end, because you'll be categorized as a catalog model. At least
interesting.
that's what I was a catalog guy, so it was hard for me to get to. I did some campaigns, but I didn't do a Versace or anything like that. All my friends did that, but I was working every day as a catalog model, catalog. Mm-hmm. So it was steady. It's their careers are more like actors, where you get a job and then you don't have any jobs, and then you get another job, then you don't have any job. So it's a lot more troughs and peaks. My career was more steady, blue collar.
I have to say one thing though. I recently last month had the opportunity to work with Kristen Bell again, doing her makeup. David and I took her headshots when she was 19 years old. She came to our studio here in Verona. So I got the opportunity to meet her again. And I think as a model or actor, because I asked her, I said, could you give all these teens that come to our studio and they see your headshot, by the makeup mirror, can you give them any advice? What would you say to yourself, looking back at your career as an actor?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And then she said, well, you sort of, it's finding, you always say that when you have actors come here, finding your genre or your, what do you call that?
Finding your brand.
Brand. Yeah, because she was, a blonde, green eyes, pretty. And even when David told me that she hit it big, when she did her first role, I was like, which one was that? Blonde, green eyes? We shot so many blondes, right? Green eyes, pretty girls. And she got stuck, I think she said, in a little bit in that genre, being the pretty girl. But she's kind of a little more quirky or funny. And so her husband said, why don't you try to be casted more for roles that's more who you really are, like the truth you. And she said that's when she hit it big, when she got to really feel like she was being more of who she is, her personality. And don't try to be everything. I think that's a model too. It's like I want to be a fashion model, but for me, everybody said you have so much personality, and we see you more sporty, commercial, doing this and that. And I think also as an actor model, you shouldn't fight, where is your strength, and just go there, and don't try to be something that maybe somebody can do a lot better, and
yeah.
She also said not to get caught in that what do you call that? The wheel,
the hamster wheel.
Yeah, the squirrel wheel. The hamster. I'm sorry, guys. I'm Swedish. American sayings. Yeah, don't get caught up in that, and we just look around, we see what everybody else are doing, and you sort of feel lost. Where do I fit in? And if you look at actually even big actors, a lot of times they do the same kind of characters, right? Parts, roles, because they found their where they actually do it really well. Even like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, she was amazing in that. So I think that's something you can also, you don't have to settle for that, but find same thing. I think with anything you do, even as a makeup artist, I'm not the editorial crazy makeup. I do very clean, very natural. That's what makes that comes easy to me, right? So even I think as a model or actor, whatever also comes easier to you will translate really more natural on the screen and in photos. So it was interesting that you said that. Yeah,
that is really interesting, because you know what, it's all about knowing your type and embracing your type, because if you don't if you're trying to be a round peg trying to fit into a square hole, it's not going to happen for you. That makes complete sense to me, just from even all the years I've been involved in the industry. That's really, really interesting. So if someone again wants to get involved in this part of the industry, they need an agent, correct? They need an agent for modeling, for print work, for that genre. So as far as finding that agent and figuring out which one is the right one, like when you first got your photos done, that's a separate, I think people need to understand that's a separate part of this. So you need an agent, you need great headshots and great promo shots, and can you maybe explain what kind of shots are important for a modeling career to have in the beginning? Is it just a headshot? Can you go into any detail in regard to
You know,
that?
it's funny if you go to Italy, they like to discover new talent. So if you go to Italy, they'll pretty much take your book and take everything out of it and put one or two pictures in maybe and say, oh, he's a brand new guy, because they don't want to see someone who's been trying for a year and not succeeding, let's say, succeeding. Mm-hmm. And so I had friends that were working like a lot in Germany, and they'd go down to Milan, they take everything out of their book and they do one test, one shoot, and put on a few different suits and a headshot and some black and white pictures, keep it simple and like, oh, I'm brand new. And that's the Italian way of doing it. In New York, if you did that in New York, they would laugh at you. Where's all your work? We need experience. Every market's a little different. So what happens typically is, like, if you get an agent in New York or you get an agent in Miami or Chicago or wherever, they'll probably try to farm you out to Paris or Milan to build your book. So they're your mother agent. They have, you know, contacts with all these other agents around the world, and they try to set you up there, and they'll get a piece, maybe split the commission for a year or whatever. I don't know how they work that, but it's mutually beneficial to both agents to do this. So they'll send the model over, and then you go over to markets where they're more apt to use new people. And that's where you cut your teeth. That's how you learn how to be on camera, how to move, how to, you know, all these crazy jobs that you'll do that you probably wouldn't do in New York, because you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting for your first job because you have no print and you have no work in your book. So it's a little catch-22. You need the work in your book to prove that you can do it, but you're not going to get the work in your book in New York because you got to have the work in your book already. So
understood.
Yeah, when you're with an agent, you usually have photographers that they recommend. So what you do is you shoot with a couple of different ones, and what I have a hard time understanding, why people don't understand that this is a business. So if you want to start a business, you know, this is a very low cost business to start. You know, and I have parents call here. I do all the scheduling for our shoots. Oh, a shoot is $1,500. No, I'm not going to spend that. Okay, how much money did you spend on college a year to your kids? You know, how much? This is a very low cost start. So and when you model, or even if you hit it as an actor, how much money are you going to make? I'm sure a lot more than 1,500. So the whole idea is, if you don't do it, somebody else will do it. So when I started, for instance, long story short, I came back to New York, and I actually walked into Ford Models, who had kicked me out, and they signed me. So I was with Ford now, because now I had good pictures. And they said, oh, you have to grow your hair out. I had my hair really short, like a pixie. That works really well in Europe. So I know how to start all over, almost taking new pictures. And at that point, I knew that investing into good photographers and pictures was, nothing. If I didn't do it, other models would do it. And I was always blinded by the fact that some girls, that they weren't even that pretty, but they were smart businesswomen. They would shoot with the best photographers. And trust me, a lot of times the best ones were not cheap. Okay. So, a lot of people go cheap. And then, oh, it's not, I'm not working. Why? Is because do you want to compete with the best of the best models? Then you have to have a portfolio like them. You have to have a headshot, an actor. I want the best headshot. Otherwise, why even do it? Why struggle? Why struggle and say, oh, I did a headshot. It's not that great. But, so I always say, shoot for the stars, so that you can say in the end, if you're going to quit for some reason, I did everything I could. And then I can say at ease, but, I did all I could. And then you can walk away from it. But a lot of people quit before they even get good headshots or strong portfolios. And that was the thing. I pay attention. I watched people. I would watch models when I started. It's like, wow, she's not that pretty. But then I looked on her pictures. They were amazing. I was like, who did you shoot with? Oh my God, I need to shoot with these. If they can make you look that good, I wonder maybe, I was blown away. And these girls were working like crazy. And, they made a ton of money. Was that investment for them, shooting with some really good photographers, was that a waste of money? No, it was a really good, they were smart. I started like understanding that okay, we're in the arts, but this is a business. And if you don't treat it like a business, it's going to be pretty painful. Okay. Because, you know, no one's going to understand how pretty you are as a model unless you show it. And no one's going to know how good you are as an actor unless you have a really professional headshot that is just like mind blowing. Because then they may actually turn and look at your, you know, oh, wow, let me see what he or she's been doing as an actor. That's a really good headshot. You want something that's going to open up the door, because there's a tough competition in anything. And talent alone is not going to do it. You have to have a business mind.
Yeah, well, I love that. I love that. The whole concept of the business. I love that. Yes. Go ahead, David.
The way I look at it is, like you mentioned before, if you show someone actors, actors, or a whole bunch of submissions, a bunch of headshots in a line, and which ones do you gravitate to as a casting director? You gravitate to the one that looks the best, the most professional, the one that's lit cinematically, the one where I see them in my movie, as opposed, and it could be the worst actor, you know, which has, it's ironic, but you could be the best actor with the worst headshot and never get called in to even show them what you're about. And you could be the worst actor with the best headshot, but you get called in, at least you have a shot. It's kind of, it's has nothing to do with your skill as an actor, but it's like Lena said, it's a marketing tool that unfortunately a lot of people, you know, they don't put enough emphasis on, because the headshot is your first introduction to the casting director or the agent, or whoever you're trying to catch their eye. So if you have a bad headshot, what are they saying to themselves? They're saying, this person doesn't care. Like, they're not professional enough to even get a good headshot. Next, you know.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing with self-tapes. If you don't light it properly, if you don't have the right audio, if you don't have the right background, if you, all things that anybody can control, you know, the top 10 things are all pretty much technically that anybody can control. If you leave out 5 or 6 of those things, the casting director isn't going to watch your audition.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I totally agree. I think there's a lot of young people, especially those in college and coming out of college, who they think, I went to school, I spent my $50,000, $60,000 a year for my 4 years, and now give me a job. I am trained and it's done. And they don't understand that business side. As you said, Lena, the business piece of it, they don't understand the processes that they have to go through to create the assets that are going to actually give them opportunity. The headshot, the slate shot that they now have available. There are other assets, the little clips of them, you know, doing a self-tape if they don't have any real REAL, you know, they don't have that yet. And so there's got to be really great product that they put out, because as you said, they're looking at rows and rows and rows on a giant computer screen of all of the candidates that are coming through within minutes. Within a half hour of posting something, they could have hundreds of candidates coming through from agents, managers, and from individuals. And they are scanning those so quickly that if that shot doesn't stand out, guess what? Agree. Next. Complete next. Exactly.
It was funny when we started doing photography, because we, you know, I switched from Ford models to more commercial print agent. And so David had redone my whole portfolio. And the agent goes, oh, we love your photos. We want you to shoot actors. And we were like, no, we don't shoot actors. We're models. We don't know how to do acting headshots. And she was like, no. I want you to take pictures of our actors like Michael B. Jordan, Kristen Bell, Hayden Panettiere. They are top stars.
Well, they were new at the time.
Yeah, but they became top stars because of our headshots. No,
of course, yes. No, but that definitely had something to do with it.
Yeah, they of course sent them over to us, and they said, we like the way you do it. You know, you guys have a good combination with the hair, makeup, styling, and the photography. And you know, I think that what they saw was that we provided you know, a platform for actors to come and be relaxed, and they actually look like themselves too, you know, and I think, you know, they got excited because they started seeing that they got their actors whose headshots we had taken, they got called in. They got more callback. They got called in. It's like, what does that David and Lena do that the other photographers aren't doing? You know, so let's send everybody there. So that's how we got really busy. it was crazy. You know, when we started doing this, we were just, the phone was ringing off the hook. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what we're doing. We're just doing what we know, from being models, that we want people to look. And also another thing is like, for actors to be in front of a still camera is completely sometimes uncomfortable. You know, they want to talk, they want to act. No, you can't do that. so David is like really good, because he's like, you know, he's action engineer trade, so he's really good with angles, finding angles. And then when he gets too technical, I crack a joke, right, so people relax. But it's also a science, I think, to really get people to feel comfortable in front of the camera, so that they feel, you know, that they're being themselves, and that will, you know, come across in the photo.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can certainly vouch for the fact that you guys are completely just warm and welcoming and loving to everyone that comes in, and you absolutely make everyone feel comfortable in a way that I don't think anybody else that I've ever seen work does, which brings out the best in your, you know, in the subject, right? Because they are now relaxed, they're laughing, they're having a good time. Like, I've watched you, it's magic. It's literally magic, you know? And again, what you mentioned about the angles too, that is so important. I've watched you and been in your space when you've changed the way the person is positioned, and it changes everything about that photo.
Crazy.
And I have sent so many of my clients to you, and thank you for making them look amazing and giving them so much opportunity to get work. But yeah, it really changes people's lives in more ways than I think you guys even realize, you know? And again, going back and tying it into the student who has spent all this money for school and now is like, what? Headshots? I can't spend that kind of money. Why are you at, you know, what? They don't understand. And it's sad, because I wish the universities would prepare them for that and how important it is and give them that information. But they stick to the training in all of those areas of the acting, of course, and the singing and dancing or whatever they're doing. And they don't really educate in this way. Hence the reason I have my online courses and I'm doing this and trying to get the word out with the podcast. But people have to understand that if you don't spend that money, you are going to be lost. Just as you both said, and you're not going to get the opportunities, and nothing's going to build, and you're not going to be able to kind of take those steps on that ladder to where you want to go in the industry, for sure.
I don't even think of it as spending. I think of it as investing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes. I stand
I don't want to
corrected.
spend that money. I always say you're investing. You're investing in, you're the product. You're investing in marketing that product. And it is a
I
shame
love that
people spend, you know, whatever you said, 50, 60 a year to get an education. And then you don't know what to do with it after that. So I wish they did. Like, I'm so glad that you're doing all this, because people, it is an awareness. It's like when you get out into the real world, it's, wow. I'm not in this coddled little environment where the teachers, you know, we have these classes or whatever, and everything's so nice. Everyone's patting you on the back. You're doing such a great job. And then you go out in New York City and it's like, wow, you know, they don't care they don't care if you went to Yale drama school. It doesn't matter. It's like, all right, let's see. Now it's rubber meets the road. All right, let's see your headshot. Let me see your resume. Let me see your reel. Do you have a reel? Do you have? My son went to USC film. Our son went to USC film school, and a few interesting stories. We go to, what do you call it? The orientation, and all the parents, you know, they're all professionals, and they look at the teacher. They're all nervous, and the dean said, "Listen." He says, I know where you all are. Your son and daughter going into the arts, you know, and you're all doctors and lawyers, and you're sweating, just sitting here and wasting all this money. And we've seen it before. And you need to relax. You need to support your child. They're artists. Let them be artists. We're going to let them grow here, and we're going to, you know, put them in a good environment and all that. But even at USC, they don't teach you the business end of filmmaking. You know, you have to, once you graduate, you take off, put your big boy pants on and get out there.
Yeah, you have to hustle.
And you got to make it happen. And therein goes, all right, you have the skill, but do you have the business, to the marketing? There's a lot of little angles of it. And that's what I'm so glad you're covering this in your course.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so many of my clients, I've been working for over 20 years. helping to bridge people from being talented to actually having careers in the arts and how to do it. And of course, raising my own kids and doing it with them from when they were children and teens now to adults has given me an opportunity to see both sides of the fence from the talent standpoint. And then also I've done a lot of casting and I did a lot of choreography and, you know, directing and that kind of thing when I was younger. But yeah, it's really rewarding also to help these people. I mean, I just had a client have her Broadway debut, and she had come to New York 10 years ago from a university program and never fit into the right network. She never got with the right people. She never got the right headshot. She didn't end up with the right classes, like an acting class, or didn't end up in the right dance classes or with the right voice teacher. And so we got to know each other during COVID, and it took a couple of years, and she got into she really wanted it. She put the work in, and she just recently booked a Broadway show, and she got an agent within a year of working with me, which was crazy. Usually it's about 9 months to a year, and I can help people to do that. So, but I want to ask you guys, so this gets into the question of networking. So how much was networking a part of your success? Because you just mentioned the networking piece with agents and people who are coming to you and saying you need to shoot, right? But let's talk about when you first got involved in the industry. How important was networking to your success?
Almost everything.
I mean, I knew nothing about modeling.
If you're gonna sit down with your, you know, sitting by your phone and waiting for it to ring, it'll never ring. It'll never ring. You have to get yourself out there. And it's like Lena said in the beginning, it's very uncomfortable sometimes, but it's not glad handing or phony or anything like that. But when you get yourself out in doing auditions, doing showcases, doing off-Broadway plays, you're meeting people, you're networking, you're building a support system, and you're getting educated. You know, I remember seeing you and Kevin, and I was dragging Eric on a casting. They must have been 10 years old or 12 years old. And we were talking. We knew each other back then. And it's just, there's a perfect example of networking. Like we struck up a conversation. Well, how many years ago was that?
I don't know, a long time, probably 17 or 18 years ago.
Yeah, so is networking in any business, I think it is. And in this one, especially because you go in on an audition. I've done thousands of auditions. They don't tell you anything. After you leave that room, you don't know, you know, you could be your own worst enemy. Oh, I screwed up. Oh, I didn't say that line right. I didn't do the blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, they wanted someone 10 years older than you. And meanwhile, you're beating yourself because they don't tell the agent why they didn't pick you. So you become your own worst enemy sometimes. So you need a network around you to support you. I think it's critical. And if it's an acting coach, if it's a singing coach, dancing coach, or just fellow actors supporting each other, because otherwise you could stop before you even start.
Yeah, totally. So Lena, how about you? Was it a lot of networking, or well, in the beginning, you kind of were discovered, almost like the old Hollywood story of being discovered in the soda parlor shop.
Yeah, it makes me gag.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I got the opportunity. Was it scary? Yes. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. And then so I stayed in New York for a month, and then they set me up with an agency in London and Germany, actually. So I went to Munich, and was I nervous going there? I didn't know what I was to expect. But what I did was I started talking to other models. That's where I started. It's like, who, are you with this agency? Who do you work with here? What do you work with there? Who can I see your book? It was all about learning from other models, what they were doing. Where have you worked? Where's a good market? I was curious, about the whole, I was trying to learn, where there was more work, or, just finding out about the industry in general. Sure. And then I went back to Stockholm, ended up there and stayed there for a while. I went to Paris. This is actually another good story. I was turned down by this Parisian agency. They came to my agency in Stockholm, Sweden. The owner picked out what models he wanted to come to Paris. He didn't pick me. And now I was, I was doing a lot of covers on magazines. I did beauty campaigns as a model. So my ego was pretty good. I was like,
Yeah.
what? He didn't pick me? So now, I was like, come on, what's wrong with you? So my sister wanted to go to Paris. So we went, and I actually, I walked into the agency with my book, and this agency owner looked at me. He's like, comment? Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, I was I was passing by. I figured I'll come in and see you. And he didn't know what to do. So, I mean, I know this is not very, people can relate to this, but sometimes you just have to be a little ballsy, okay?
Yes.
If you really
Yes.
want it, because I was like, I want to work in Paris, but he was turning me down. So I was like, okay, I think I can work here, because now once you get a little confidence, and I had seen other models, like, if she can do it, I can do it. Okay. So what is she doing different than me? I'm going to just go pass by him. So then he brought me into the booking agents. So in agency, there's the owner, and then there's booking agents. A lot in life is like, who likes you, right? It's like dating.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're gorgeous, if you're Cindy Crawford or whoever, McPherson or whatever, not every guy's going to fall in love with you. So I got to meet the booking agents, and this French agent, Hélène, she was like, oh, in French, tu es très mignon. You're so cute. And I was like, oh, good. She likes me.
Right.
She likes me. That may generate in money. Bookings, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of that is I found that it was almost like dating, right? Finding somebody that's going to see me and like me and see my talent, or see where they can sell me as a product, because I am a product, whether I'm an actor or a model. So again, I had learned already, I guess I'm kind of business savvy like that. I never saw myself as a supermodel. So I was like, I need to have a good business sense to figure out how to break through. Yeah. And then, so I was there for a week, and she set me up with some, auditions or whatever. And then I was about to leave, and she go, no, you're booked. You're working Monday. I have a place for you to stay here. And I got a couple of bookings. So I stayed, and then my career was amazing in Paris. That was like my best career was in Paris. So again,
that's interesting.
I could have quit when Ford, after my few first test shots, said, oh, maybe you should start with a smaller agency. And I was like, well, you're the ones who told me to come here and do this. I could have quit there. I didn't. Okay. I went with that crazy photography. Then same thing with my modeling career. I was turned down to go to Paris. There's got to be somebody there that likes me, sees me. So that you have to have tough skin. You can't take no for an answer. You have to just try. It's really hard, because you take it personally. It's like, I'm not pretty. Yes. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like an actor, there's so much more you can work on. As a model, it is what it is. You can keep your.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. I can do as much as I can with my looks. Then there's that's it, right?
Yeah.
But don't ever try that. Have somebody limit you or tell you what you can't do. Look for the yeses. Look for who's going to see me. And that's where you have to search and network. That's what I learned.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, because you know what, too? I think there's a way to do that, right? Because I've been in rooms where people are trying to network, and they're too pushy, and they're too aggressive, and they're trying to push themselves into a conversation in a very odd way. So I think there's this kind of like that you have to be kind. You have to have a happy, like lively kind of, inspired vibe. Like you have to like people and want to talk to them and be interested in them. And you have to kind of really carefully choose the way you speak to them. And it's almost, for me, I feel like there should be more courses out there. And I've said this before, I wish I could teach a course in literally how to do that, and how to walk up to, like, how do you walk up to a group of people in a space at a meet and greet and introduce yourself into that moment, into that group of people, when they have no idea who you are and you just came into the space, that type of training to understand how to say it and what to say, because I'm sure you didn't go into that office, with an energy that wasn't welcoming, or they wouldn't have welcomed you.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
More like playful and sweet,
Yes.
And what is he going to say? No. I mean, David introduced a really good book that we recommend to everybody, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about you. People care about themselves.
Yes.
So you show interest in people, but in a genuine way, not in a phony way. you know, find something in somebody that you want to, you know, address or ask, or, you know, that's going to open up a lot of doors.
Yeah,
and when
absolutely.
you start worrying about you and care for others and try to, you know, make yourself interesting to others, that's, I think, you know, it's going to open up doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny
Yeah.
you mentioned that book, because I do the same thing. I suggest all my clients read that book. All of them. That's so crazy. I had no idea you did it too. It's great. It's awesome, because you're no longer living, when you read that book, you're no longer living in a bubble. It's not all
No.
about you and what's going on in here. It allows you to kind of think very differently in a good, really great way.
I used to go into a castings, and you'd bring your book and they'd flip through your book and look at all your pictures, and you'd sit there and what do you say? Do you say anything? Well, everybody says something. You got to try to connect, right? So my theory was, oh, I'm going to tell, oh yeah, that one, that's when I was in Paris, and that one was when I was in Venice, and we did trying to impress the guy, and he's flying through the book as like a fan hitting my face. And then I read that Dale Carnegie book, and I said, all right, they don't care about me. All right, so now I'm going to go in there, I'm going to try to genuinely have a conversation and find out what this guy's about. And he had a picture with his boat and his kid with a fishing rod. I was like, oh, is that your boat? And oh yeah, that's my boat. And I was like, wow, and then I started getting jobs.
Yes, I totally agree. No, David, I totally agree with you.
I'm the same guy that was getting turned down left and right. You know, the fan was blown. I was getting like blown back. And then all of a sudden I'm just asking, oh, is that your kid? I was like, that's cool. The skateboard? He's in the skateboard. And the guy lights up. And I was like, wow, it was like a switch went on in my head. And along those lines, I remember when we shot Michael B. Jordan, we shot him a few times. He was a kid. He was on All My Children, and he did that show,
Wire?
The Wire.
The
Yeah.
Wire.
Oh yeah.
And I read an article that he wrote about his auditioning process, and he had said in the beginning he used to go into the audition room thinking, all right, what do you think they want? I'm going to give them what they want. I'm going to give them what I think they want. And he wasn't getting anywhere. And then because he wasn't grounded to that audition, he wasn't grounded to that, he was just trying to give them what he thought they wanted. Then he said, no, this isn't working. I'm going to do what I think this character is all about, and I'll be more grounded to that performance, number one, and it's going to be more real. And if it's wrong, I don't care. I'm going to do what I think this character should be. And it was like a light switch for him. And yes, if they didn't like that version, they could direct him to another version. But his first audition, his first take was real. It was organic, and it was so powerful. And he said that was the switch for me.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. Crazy.
Sometimes we look in the wrong places.
Yeah.
It's right in front of you.
Yeah, for sure. This has been great. All this information is amazing. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what things are like now for you two? Are you still modeling? Are you doing obviously a lot of photography? I know you've got other really exciting things that go on. Maybe give us an idea of what your week is like now in this space in your careers.
Well, for me, the last probably 10 years, you know, very quickly, I just couldn't go in on auditions anymore because I was shooting so much. And
really,
agents would be like, you missed that casting. You missed it. After a while, you know, if you miss a few castings, you might as well forget about it, which is fine with me because I enjoyed shooting anyway. And if I did get an occasional commercial, I would do it. But it wasn't like I was out there trying to keep that plate spinning, so to speak. So I transitioned just to photography, and then I started filming, and I started filming a lot of commercials, and I filmed a few short films that went to festivals and all that. I got the filming bug. And then once I got the filming bug, I started learning lighting for headshots. And believe me, most photographers don't know how to light a headshot because they've never filmed anything. They haven't filmed a music video. They haven't filmed anything. So if you want a cinematic headshot, you know, not that it's a prerequisite as a photographer, but it sure does help if you know how to light a scene and how to light a face for a movie. If you want to be a film actor, that that agents and casting directors will immediately know, oh, this is quality because it's lit right. You know, it's short lit. Most photographers don't even know what short lighting is, and they're shooting headshots. Oh, put the light here, put the light wherever. Just stand there, and I'll make you look good. No, it's not like that. When you set up a scene, you have to light it cinematically. So as I evolved over the last bunch of years, I don't like my 10, 20-year-old pictures that I took because I didn't know how to. Once I started filming, it totally went to a new level. And so that's what I do mostly now.
Nice. How about you, Lena?
So I started doing makeup when we started doing headshots, because in the beginning, both of us were holding the camera, but it was too much. So I started doing the makeup, and I actually really realized that I really loved it. And then after working with David here doing headshots, the word spread. A lot of actors, models started recommending me. And then I had a celebrity makeup artist call me. One day we were actually doing headshots, and she goes, "I hear you're really good. Do you have a website?" I was like, "No." "Okay, well, you're hired. Are you available?" So my first job for TV celebrities was a 3-day show for HBO, stand-up comedy. And I got to work with this celebrity makeup artist. So I worked with her for 5 years. I did the Tony Awards 5 years in a row. I did, you name it. I probably had them all in my chair. Cut Justin Bieber's hair. I worked with Usher, Brooke Shields. I mean, it goes on and on. It was very exciting. But I realized that as a makeup artist, that everybody just wanted to look their best, but look still like them. So it was actually, to me, it was like, oh, wow. Okay, I could do this. And I realized that I had a skill that, I didn't know that I had, right?
Sure.
When I used to model. But so now what I do is I did that for 5 years, and then now I do a lot of corporate. So I do all the celebrities in corporate America. I do the CEO of Bank of America. I do the CEO of Verizon. I do the CEO of ADP. I do, you name it. Those are like, so I work with really smart people now, and these people aren't
unlike me.
I'm very smart though. Said I would not for anything take away the 5 years of celebrity shows. It was really fun, and fast track, and it's just that for me having kids and all that, I didn't like the hours as much, because a show ends at 11 p.m. and then maybe the next morning you got to be back at the hotel getting celebrities ready, blah blah.
Oh, yeah.
Long days and all that. So so I really like what I do now, and so that's what I do Monday through Friday. So we don't work together during the week. Weeks are actually really hard for us to do headshots because we have so many clients, in our separate careers. So weekends, Saturday, Sundays is when we dedicate for headshots.
So how can people get in touch with you? Can you give us some contact information? Can they follow you on socials, reach out that way? Do you have, maybe give us the website, like give us some information on how people can get in touch.
So our Instagram handles are just our names. So it's Lena Kaptein and David Kaptein. And we do need to update our websites.
Websites is our name, davidkaptein.com and
lenakapteinmakeup.com. But I do all the scheduling, so they can reach out to me at lenakaptein@gmail.com. My full name, and then at Gmail. I do all the scheduling. So, and we try to work with everybody individually, with what they're looking for and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And so so people can come to you for obviously headshots. And I noticed on the website, David, you do slate shots as well.
Yeah, I have because of the filming thing I do now.
There's so much equipment.
So I'll do slate shots, or sometimes people need stuff for their reel. We'll shoot a monologue or something simple like that.
Okay.
But the slate shot is really important in the sense that people need to hear your voice. If you have nothing on a reel, you should get a reel of some clips, because like my son, when he was casting his student film at USC, he went on backstage and he would not even consider an actor or actress who didn't have a clip. Couldn't hear them. They just had a headshot. And he's like, why would I even consider them? I got to see what they do.
Absolutely.
So, you need to have a slate shot just to hear your voice, or in the least, and then in a better scenario, you should have some clips for a comedy clip or a serious clip, or you know more about that stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then you also do promo shots for clients
Yeah,
also,
we'll
correct?
Yeah.
do singers. We'll do. I've shot a bunch of music videos, but that's not really what I do now. But yeah, it depends. Whatever anyone wants, you know.
Branding shots,
If it's
whatever.
not what I do, I'll say, hey, look, that's not my wheelhouse. Go to somebody else. I don't.
Mhm.
You know, I like to work in the area. I don't like to shoot weddings. You know.
No.
You know,
No, this is
you don't
this
want to
is
be.
more fun.
Yeah, exactly. I like doing this stuff. Stick with what you like doing. You
Yeah.
know.
So we've got your contact information so people can reach out if they want to set up a time with you guys to actually have their headshots done or these other assets that they might need. So where are you exactly located? Can you give us a little bit of an idea location wise, where you shoot, that type of thing, so people can kind of see if you're in their area?
We live in Verona. We shoot out of the house, the studio. The whole bottom floor is the studio dedicated. It's next to Montclair. It's 19 miles from Manhattan. So it's kind of convenient for anyone in the tri-state area.
Okay,
But
awesome.
success is not built on convenience. We have we have clients traveling very far to get headshots with us, and I think once we have work with somebody, they come back. We follow kids up to college years, you know, and sometimes people go and get headshots somewhere else, but then they come back to us because
That is so true.
yeah,
That is so true.
something
I've
works.
seen that many times.
Yeah.
Yes, if it works, you got to
Yeah.
stick with it. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
No, you guys are great. You guys are great. So do you have any other last minute thoughts that you would want to share with, let's say, a parent or a young adult who is, you gave us so much information and so many tips and tricks that certainly, and inside information that people wouldn't be aware of. So thank you for that. But is there any last thought that you have that you might want to give to someone just starting out or someone who's in the industry right now?
Uh, I would like to say there's a little quick story. My son was into video gaming. All he wanted to do is play video games. And Lena says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, this is, he's starting to make movies with it on his YouTube
No, I said
channel."
that because you were buying him.
Yeah, I was buying a lot of video games, and I said, "Well, I don't know. It's better than just watching TV. He's learning editing, and I'm sort of feeding the monster. I called it." And it turned out he became a big YouTube star, and he went to USC Film School. And my point is this: he was very passionate about the arts. He was very passionate about this, and me as a parent, I wanted to support that passion. And there's so many people out there who are going to knock you down, try to steal your dream. And as a parent, I just felt like, a lot of times you're the only people in his corner. You're the only people cheerleading for him. And as a parent, try to support your kids with their passions.
And I also have to say that whoever's listening to this are very fortunate knowing you, Lisa, because I wish, even though I was scouted, that I had somebody guiding me. I had to, make mistakes, fall down, get up, brush myself off, knock on another door, or try to figure it out, And a lot of people say that when they come to us, "Oh, I wish I came here sooner." They had already wasted so much time and money going elsewhere, just trying to, get somewhere. It's very frustrating in the beginning. So there are people like yourself and us that have done this, walk the walk, talk the talk. Try to find people like that and trust the journey in this. Some people it happens really quick success, some people not. It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of you getting to where you want to go and not lose faith in that. And networking is huge too. So always, wherever you are, if you have a little unpaid role, just talk to the actors, talk to the director. There's a lot of people, even me now, I'm a makeup artist. They ask me, do you know any other agents? Do you know other, producers? Who else do you work for? It's, we're all here, people on this earth, to help each other out. And we're always stronger together. So don't try to do this on your own, and then I also say that too, like if you can have a role model, within your acting or modeling, somebody that you can sort of, say, I want to do, what did he or she do? And is somebody I can emulate, and somebody I can, You know, we did that with our photography. Actually, there was another model couple that started doing headshots, and it was my dream. I wanted to do that, you know, and David was like, "Meh," and then he came around. Yeah. But I was like, I wasn't gonna give up on that. That was like my dream, you know, because I'm very creative, and I felt like modeling was fun. It was great, but it didn't really fulfill all my needs. What I do now, I just really love. I'm passionate about. And I think when you're really passionate, like David said, it's going to come across in your work, you know. And then it's a matter of, you know, people finding you. Don't be selfish, you know, really put yourself out there, get the right resources, and make sure people will find you, you know. Don't give up.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. This is all great. It's all such great advice. Thank you guys so much.
Well, thanks for having us on.
If you'd like to follow Lena and David to keep up with all they are doing, follow them on Instagram at Lena Kaptein and at David Kaptein. And join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Need more information? Visit lbctalent.com and follow me on socials at LisaSolak_LBC Talent. By sharing our stories, we can help other talented individuals land the career of their dreams.